I was born in South Africa, but my parents were missionaries in Ethiopia, so I went there when I was about 3, lived there for about 10 years, and when we left Ethiopia we moved to England, to Harlow, and that's where I met Elaine.
I grew up in Harlow, I lived there all my life, and it was Gavin's dad who came to be the pastor of our church.
It wasn't love at first sight. I went off to university and studied medicine, and I always felt that I was going to come back to Africa to work as a doctor.
In the meantime, we'd had several missionaries come to the church, and I felt God was calling me to become a missionary.
Well, it's a long story, but we eventually came to South Africa in 1993.
Yes.
93. And then we moved up here to Empangeni in 1996. That time was when HIV and AIDS was really getting going, and this area was one of the worst areas for HIV and AIDS, and as a doctor we were seeing people dying all the time.
And since I was 16, I'd always done Sunday school and children's work, and seeing children dying and being affected by the HIV, we felt that God was really calling us to get involved in this area. But we felt that we had lots of excuses because we thought we didn't know Zulu, we didn't know any orphans, and we didn't even know where to start.
We talked about it with our pastor, we prayed about it, and eventually in 2001 things got going.
And we built our first of all we would give donations to people, and when we got donations given to us, we would try and visit people and pay school fees. At that time the government insisted that every child had to pay school fees, and they had to buy their own stationeries and pens and pencils and textbooks and exercise books. So we tried to encourage the orphans in our area to go to school and pay for those things for them.
Yeah, so to start off, there were about 150 orphans that we looked after for 3 years, but it became obvious that there were some children who were in a lot of need, that were being in very bad circumstances, abused in different ways, and they really need to be looked after. The community really encouraged us to do something about it.
So after speaking to several people in the area, the councillor and the Induna, we built our first house, which we thought would only house 8 children, and we opened that on the 4th of December 2004.
We had no experience in running children's homes. We had no idea of how things were going to work. So the original plan was that we'd find 2 or 3 children, had a house mother, and we'd sort of get systems up and running in the next 2 or 3 months. But by Christmas there were 12 children in the house, and the place was bursting.
When these children came, it was really difficult. Our first 2 boys came with half a carrier bag full of clothes, and that was their whole belongings, and they had to be burnt because they were so bad. And those 2 boys are still with us.
The children who come from a dysfunctional community. This area, they have many social problems. There's a lot of orphans because of HIV and AIDS. This is an area with one of the highest murder rates and child rape rates, and these are the background that the children are coming from.
So the children come and they stay in the home. At that time the children were not placed with us, we were not registered with the welfare, although welfare knew about us, but the government knew there was a lot of informal children's homes, and for them that was convenient because they didn't have to pay then for the children. Since then we have built more houses. We now have 30 children. We are registered with the department. The children stay there all the time. We have house mothers who care for them. We felt it was important to have Zulu house mothers, and that we lived in the Zulu area, so that the children would understand their culture, as that's the environment that they will have to go back to. We have a full-time social worker, and we try to then reunite the children with extended families. If they have extended families that they can go back to, they do. If not, then the children stay with us until they have finished their matric, which is our equivalent of your A levels. Musa Nkosi means God's grace. We felt it was important to have a name that the Zulu people would recognise and understand, and that gives us opportunity to show God's grace to the community in a loving, practical way, and opens opportunities to share the gospel with them.
We came to Empangeni because I'm a doctor and I was carrying on with my job here. When we started, Elaine was basically the practice manager and made sure the business ran properly. We're involved in the church. As the orphan project got going, I still do my job. I'm still doctoring. Few days, 2 days a week at the government hospital, 2 or 3 days at the private hospital, and a few afternoons and weekends out at Musa.
Yeah, I still do a lot of the practice management. I oversee, but we do have 2 other ladies who work in the office.
And the Musa work?
Oh yes. and the Musa work takes at least 80% of my time. Because we're registered with the department, there's always department papers and forms to fill in. And we also have staff issues, children's issues that need to be dealt with, staff rotas. So basically everything to run the children's home I'm in charge of and facilitate. Spreading the gospel in the community. So we have contacted the school, and they have told us of the poorest children in the area, and we visit those homes each month. The mothers go with a volunteer, and the idea is to build up a friendship, a relationship with these people, so again we have the opportunity to share the gospel with them. This has been very successful, particularly in Nseleni, where they go and visit the homesteads of all the orphans that come to the feeding scheme. And there several people have come into church and have been converted and been baptised through this visiting of the homesteads. On the spiritual side, there are many opportunities to share the gospel here, and it's very open. In the actual home, the children have prayers every single night, which consists of singing some songs, a Bible reading and explanation, and then prayers. The younger children come into Sunday school in town, and the older ones come in for young adults, which is aimed like a junior youth, high school youth. They also come to church. Through having contact with our local school over many years, we are allowed to go in there and do holiday Bible clubs. The first time we did that was a couple of years ago, and we had 120 children come each day. Most of these children had never heard the gospel before, as this is a big Shemba and ancestral worship area. Our own children, again, as I say, they come into church, and some of the older ones have been converted and have given their lives to the Lord. They have been baptised along with our social worker, and they have helped us run the Bible clubs as well. They've also gone to other areas to help people there teach their youth how to run Bible clubs.
Where the children's home at Interweni is quite a rural area, that means people are quite spread out. And it's difficult to do things on a community basis. There's a township called Nseleni, which is about 25 kilometers from here, where we started doing the feeding scheme in 2009. We started feeding 2 days a week, and then 3 days and 5 days, and that's what we're doing at the moment. We have community workers from the church there, and they went out into the area. They got to know the families and basically to find the most needy children, and 40 to 50 of these come in every day for feeding after school. We would like to help with the school and education there as well, and we have done in the past, but it's a manpower problem that when we haven't got people and volunteers to work there, that we aren't able to do that. Since we started in Insulane, we always had plans to expand. There's a great need in the community, the young ones who don't get any stimulation before school, older ones who leave school without any qualification, adults who left school and haven't got any jobs, aren't doing anything. It's been difficult at the church because we can't do whatever we want, we have to pack things away. So since we started, we have been thinking about getting some land and looking, and there were very many frustrations, and eventually we just had to say, well Lord, when you want to do it, provide the land. And that's happened in the last year. So we now have a piece of land that we need to develop in Insulane. We want to move the feeding scheme there first of all, so we need to build a hall building and move the feeding scheme across. What we do then, there are many ideas, and what we do depends on the manpower and the finance and the expertise that we got. Children going to school are often far behind. Children at home don't have books and things to stimulate them, they can't cut out, they don't know colours, and so preschool creche is one project we'd like to do in the mornings. We'd like to help the children who come to the feeding scheme and older children with their homework, have a study room, have a computer room, because they don't have access to these things. Children want to do things, and some kind of sports ministry or a gym so that children have something to do when they're there. Then there's also older people in the community who need skills. The ladies, if they can learn to knit or to sew or to bead, they can do something and be productive and go back into their community and do something there. So there's many possibilities of things that we could do with the land and the building when we have it. We're just looking to the Lord to open the way and provide the finance and the people to do it. Once we have a presence in the community, the community workers obviously are also going to be working in that area, and what we want to do is to draw people in with God's love to the area, that they'll come to meetings, to start a Sunday school, and hopefully in time to start a church there and to change that area of Insulane.